Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Jugmaster3, and what do you know, it's time for a new video, and I do think this is probably going to be the last horror movies not on DVD or Blu-ray video, so I think this is going to be part 5, if I'm not completely wrong, but so this is going to be the last of these videos. Of course, there's probably dozens and dozens of other like horror films that I have yet to get a DVD or Blu-ray release, but the ones that I've been talking about in these videos are the specific ones that I would love to get, would like to get a DVD or Blu-ray release. So you can sort of see this like as a top 10, 50 like horror films that needs DVD or Blu-ray releases in a weird way, even though they're not like really in like a numbered order or anything like that. So so these are basically in random order, and yeah, you have to deal with that. So yeah. But let's start off this video with a very weird and obscure one. This one I actually saw a DVD of this floating around a place where I usually like buy some of my films like online and whatever. But one of my friends told me, well, don't buy that. That's actually a bootleg. And obviously I didn't buy the bootleg. I mean, if I'm really desperate, I could have bought it, but at the same time, I really just want the real deal, like an official release. But this is a very obscure film, and the film is called Witchdoctor of the Livingdead from 1985. And I do believe this is a film from Nigeria, yeah, so probably the only horror film from Nigeria that I've ever seen, and maybe that's the reason why it's so obscure, but it's like sort of like a weird, almost like a voodoo zombie type film. And there's just a really funny scene in this film where like our heroes are like getting sort of like stuck inside of this church, and the church is just built with absolutely almost nothing, and it almost just based on all of these different types of camera angles, it actually feels like it has so many doors everywhere. I remember I watched this years ago with some of my friends, and we really had a laugh at this film, and we really enjoyed it, and we told ourselves, well, this really needs a DVD Blu-ray release. Obviously not for everybody, I can understand that, but if you do like some really low budget like trash and like charming films from the 80s in general, give this one a watch. And like usual, when it comes to all the other films on this list, like this one as well, I'm going to leave the IMDb link to each and every single title that I'm mentioning in this film. So in this video, sorry. So yeah, so yeah, that's it. Witchdoctor of the Livingdead from 1985. Let's see here. Then we have a film which I believe actually was it like produced by like some guy who was like involved in like Playboy or something. It's just some weird, really strange and weird like backstory to this film. But the film is called Temptress from 1995, not to be confused with Sorceress 2, I believe, which is just called the Sorceress 2, the Temptress or something. This is the one with Kim Delaney in it. This one also has Chris Sarandon and Corbin Bernsen, so Dee Wallace as well. So it's a pretty interesting cast right here. Way more of a weird, like erotic thriller in a way, and sort of, and it still has some like horror vibes to it as well. So you can still say it's a horror film, but it's one of those films that came out in this area where they just pumped out all these similar films, but this one just kind of decided to take a little bit more of a horror spin on that genre. So you probably know what you're getting into this. A little bit sleaze here and there. I mean, it's not like super sleaze or anything like that. I mean, especially not if you think that Playboy was involved in this project, but I think it's a very atmospheric film and really a product of its time, and it's just it's a weird feeling of this film that you just really can't recreate in today's films, like in the movie industry today. So yeah, Temptress from 1995. Let's see here with what the next one is. Now the next one, the next film is a film which is a shot on video film from the 80s, and this definitely would probably be something that Camp Motion Picture probably would have released this film if they were still around. But this is the film called The Hackers from 1988, and this is just a really fun low budget shot on video film. Really fun blood and gore effects. That's usually what you really want in a film. I believe this is the one which has lots of like really like killer hillbillies in a way. If this is the one I'm thinking of, yeah, sort of like killer hillbillies type of film. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Redneck Zombies in a way. But I actually think this one was more entertaining than Redneck Zombies. So if you do like Redneck Zombies and you haven't seen The Hackers, and if you do come across it somewhere, go check it out. It's a really fun and tense little like shot on video film, and really charming at that. So yeah. If any company is gonna release it in today's in these days, I would probably say it's probably Massacre Video or something. So yeah, but that's just my assumption. Of obviously some other company could release it. I mean, this could also be released on like Saturn's Core or something like that as well, the sub-label to Vinegar Syndrome. So yeah. Now the next film is sort of like a stupid. I mean, not a stupid. Yeah, it is stupid, and it's not necessarily like a good film or anything like that. But this is a film that I would just love to get a release, just mainly because of the actors involved in this project. And the film that I'm talking about is the film called Soultaker from 1990, with both Joe Estevez and Robert Sedar. And the fact that you have both of these two actors in the same film is just, I think that's just really funny and really charming and really like entertaining just because of that. The other characters are kind of like, what's the other actress? I believe the one of the lead actresses in this film, Vivian Schilling. She was also involved in a film called Terror Eyes, which I do think is yet another film which never really had a proper DVD or Blu-ray release. I actually have like a double pack with this one with another film. I can't really think of the other film's name at this point, but I do believe that might be a bootleg, so I'm not really sure if that's really an official release or not, so that could also be included in this list. So, but yeah, Terror Eyes is a really entertaining film. But as for Soultaker, it's sort of like a weird, so bad it's good type of film, really. It's really a mess of a film. I mean, I believe it was Robert Sedar's character is sort of like the angel of death in this film, and he sends out like Joe Estevez to kind of get rid of these youngsters, basically. So they have to like escape from him. So sort of like a race to get away from Joe Estevez and try to like defeat him, basically, in the end. So yeah, I mean, it is a stupid film. It's sort of like a so bad it's good. It kind of depends on what type of mood you're in when you watch some of these films. So yeah, but anyway, Soultaker, 1990. I do believe, was it Mystery Science Theater? I believe we did some episode on this film like ages ago as well, I believe. So yeah. And then the next one is yet another film from the 80s, and it's the film called Terminal Choice from 1985. This is sort of like one of those like hospital themed horror films in general. I really like films that takes place, like horror films that takes place out in hospitals in general. Maybe just because I've spent so much time at the hospital in real life as well, that I just find them to be very weird and atmospheric. And it's a weird thing just to say that, basically just based on my own experiences with like hospitals in general. But I just think the setting is really atmospheric and really cool for a horror film in general. And so I would say it goes for the same thing with this one as well. Now, my only complaint about this specific film, though, is that I thought it was a little bit too long for its own good. But yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best ones in this list. Maybe not the best one, but definitely one of the better ones that I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, I don't want to spoil anything else than that. I mean, this is definitely a film that you should really like just know nothing about, and you'll probably appreciate it much more. So yeah, Terminal Justice from 1985. Let's see here. Then we have a film. I'm not too sure. I think this probably had a release like ages ago, like in early 2000s, I believe. I think this could have been released by Anchor Bay, but I can be totally wrong about that. And if that's the case, you probably know it's probably like long gone out of print. Like, yeah, I mean, it's been gone forever, basically, if that's the case. But it's the film called The Unborn from 1991, which I thought was a really cool film. It's like sort of this, sort of like a sci-fi horror themed film. With some of these films, like that came out like in the 90s when it came to like sci-fi horror, some of them could be really over the top to the point that you get really annoying and really like obnoxious, but this one really makes it worth it, and I think it's a really nice mix between sci-fi and horror in this specific one. And I think the characters are well acted, if you can say that. And yeah, I mean, apparently this one also has a sequel, which I haven't seen, but I've heard that's supposed to be much, much weaker than the first one. So But anyway, yeah, The Unborn from 1991. And also, if any of these films have an official DVD or Blu-ray release that I'm not aware of, please let me know in the comment section. So, yeah. Now, the next film is a film that I watched on YouTube. This is one of those films that I just really wanted to get a hold of for the longest time, because this was featured in the Studio S debate or whatever, like in the early 80s in Sweden in general, when they were talking about it was sort of like the Swedish version of the video nasties in the UK. And it's basically like people were just like really like traumatized by like these films that were released, the violent films that they just had to ban almost all of these horror films that came out in this era. And so most of those got confiscated and whatever, and this specific film was featured on that show, where they showed like a little clip of this one. And ever since I saw that clip, I thought, well, I really need to get a hold of this film because it looks very entertaining, like sort of like an exploitation type film. That's actually what I thought it was when I saw it for the first time, like that small little clip. But now you're just completely talking about everything else except for the title of the film. But the title of the film is A Taste of Hell from 1973. And this is I believe, a Filipino production. And it's sort of like a war film as well. I mean, it doesn't necessarily say that it's a horror film, but it's like an action drama war film with some like horror elements to it, because there's some really violent stuff going on in here. So you can still say that it is sort of like a horror film, because it's basically about this guy that gets he gets like a mold or something, not mold, but he gets really like deformed in his like face because of some experience he had like in the war or whatever, and then he goes on a killing rampage like in the I don't think it's supposed to be the Philippines, but like in Vietnam, I believe. This one also has Vic Diaz in it, and he plays a real scumbag in this one, like he did in most of these like exploitation films from the 70s. And it's a really like depressing and really sort of like messed up film in general. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like really disturbing, but I mean, the things that are going on in this film, you can say, I can totally understand why some people would say, oh, they need to ban this film back in those days. But at this point, it's just really tame. It can really go hand in hand with some of those like women in prison films from this specific era. So yeah, I'm just very surprised, but because apparently on IMDb it says this film was rated PG, which just does not make any sense for me at all. I mean, I just assumed that this was rated R, to be fair. So yeah, but anyway, A Taste of Hell from 1973. Yeah, I would love to see this one get a physical release or DVD or Blu-ray release. I mean, not necessarily like an amazing film, but I would love to see this get a remaster, and then I might enjoy it much more than the version that I saw. So yeah. Let's see here. Then we have yet another film from the 80s this time around, and it's the film by Fred Olen Ray. And if you do know Fred Olen Ray, you know he has really like directed lots and lots of low budget trash. And when I say trash, I don't necessarily mean that they're all bad. Some of them are just so entertaining and so fun, and you can actually see that they really put a lot of care into making their films. So when I say that they're trash, I'm not necessarily saying that they're bad. But yeah, this is his film called Deep Space from 1988. Once again, I think a film that might have gotten a DVD release at one point. But I mean, out of all of the films that Fred Olen Ray has directed, this is one of the most entertaining ones that I've seen. And this feels more like a serious type of film, and sometimes that can be a bad thing if you like have some of these like low budget productions and they actually expect their end product to be much better than it actually is. That could be an issue, but at this point it just really works. And I was just so surprised to find out this was actually directed by Fred Olen Ray the first time that I saw this film. And once again, this is a film, if you do like Fred Olen Ray's other films, I think definitely you will enjoy this one as well. It's sort of like an Alien rip-off type thing in a way. But I mean, there were so many of these films that came after Alien that kind of tried to cash in on the whole Alien craze in general. So, but yeah, Deep Space, really entertaining film from 1988. And then we have a film. This is a terrible title because I believe I've seen at least 2 or 3 films with this exact same title. And this was not even planned before. This next film is called Possession which it says right here on my t-shirt right here. This is obviously like a nod to the 80s one, like early 80s one with Isabella Gianni and Sam Neill from 1981, which is a phenomenal film. Obviously, it's not this possession that I'm referring to. This possession was released in 1987, and it's a very typical type of like almost like a slasher film in a way. Not the greatest, not the worst. I've definitely seen way worse slasher films in general, but yeah, once again, if I just feel like most of the slasher films really need a DVD or Blu-ray release at this point, and I think this is one of the few ones from the 80s which has yet to get a DVD or Blu-ray release. So yeah, Possession from 1987. Now let's see here. Then we have yet another like shot on video film, I believe. It doesn't say it is shot. Maybe it's not shot on video at all. I can be totally wrong about this. Now this one is actually one of the best ones on this list, to be fair. I know I said that before, but yeah, I really appreciate this film. And it's the film called Fatal Exposure from 1989. I could have swore this was a shot on video film, but yeah, don't quote me on that. It can be totally wrong. It has that feel to it. And what I was really surprised by this film was because sometimes when you watch shot on video films, you just really expect like really low budget, funny, garbage type of films that you can really laugh at because of how ridiculous and fun they are. This one really felt like a serious film, and I was just so surprised at how amazingly well made it was, and especially for like the low budget, and it has that gritty feeling to it. It almost feels like a I mean, definitely I'm not going to say this is anywhere near as good as the one I'm going to refer to, but it did remind me a little bit of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer from 1986 with Michael Rooker, which I would still say is one of the best serial killer films of all time, to be fair. It has that type of gritty feel to it, but obviously not as good. It has more of a shot on video type feel to it. But I really like the blood and gore effects. I really like the acting. The psycho in this one did an amazing job, and so did the female lead as well. And I mean, some of these side characters are sort of like hit or miss when it comes to some of their acting, but overall, I think this is a really entertaining film. So if you ever find this anywhere, go check it out. And yeah, Fatal Exposure from 1989. Now, I know I've already talked about 10 films at this point, but I'm just going to throw this one in here as a bonus thing, just because this is the last episode I'm going to do with these like horror movies stuck on VHS, like these DVD Blu-ray release series, whatever you can call it that. But you wouldn't maybe not necessarily call this a horror film. This is a film that was inspired by true events, or like based on true events, depending on how you see it, because sometimes when they say that, they kind of like twist the real truth from time to time just to fit like the intense moments in the film. But this is a film called Ricky 6 from the early 2000s, mainly 2000, the year. And for whatever reason, this was like shown on some like film festivals back in the early 2000s, and then it just completely disappeared, and it just didn't get a DVD Blu-ray release, and I have no idea why. But I have my theory as to why, because I know I've been talking about some of these films like the previous parts, that I have a feeling that like just because this has some sort of like satanic backstory in a way, not satanic backstory, but whenever anything has something to do with Satan or Satanism, or in general, it just feels like those films are more likely to get stuck on VHS and not get a DVD or Blu-ray release, if that makes sense. I know that's a weird theory of mine, but there's been at least 4 or 5 of these films that have showed up in this series, or like in these videos that I've talked about. So yeah, but this is based on the true story of what's his name, Ricky Kasso, I believe. He in this film is just called Ricky Cohen. Probably just because of like rights issues and whatever, but it's based on Ricky Kasso, the Acid King, you can call him. I think that's like his nickname. And I mean, if you do know this story, you probably already know what's really going up with this. But what I really enjoyed about this particular film was like the visuals and the cinematography, and the soundtrack is just really entertaining, just because it's sort of like heavy metal, like metal, death metal type music in general, which I'm a big fan of. There's a specific scene in this film where the character of Ricky, like the main like antagonist. And I mean, he's not the protagonist, he's like the antagonist. He's sort of like a serial killer, not a serial killer, but he's like the main bad in the film, and this is the main guy in the film. But there's this scene where he's like hallucinating. I think he's probably influenced by some sort of like drugs or something like that, like a medication or whatever. And he's like walking around in this swamp, and it's like, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like a swamp or anything like, but it looks like a swamp. And there's lots of like fog, and like the lighting is just really like dark, almost like really like dark and black, kind of like reddish type of color. And he meets like Satan like in the swamps, while they have this really tense and atmospheric like death metal music in the background. And it's weird to say it's really like tense death metal music to that specific scene, but it's like a really creepy type of like death metal song, which has a really like atmospheric feel to it. And that scene just really blew me away the first time I saw this film. I have rewatched it numerous of times, and I'm just so baffled that this never got a DVD or Blu-ray release. I don't even think this got a VHS release. The one that I watched, then you might ask yourself, well, how did you watch this film? I did watch it online when it was still available. I'm not really sure if it's still available or not. I think another reason I think this might not have a DVD or Blu-ray release might be because of the soundtrack, because I believe they had at least one or two like Iron Maiden songs on there, and that's usually the cause when it comes to some of these films that are just lost on VHS, that they have some like rights issues with the music. So yeah, but if you do like serial killer films in general, I mean, wouldn't necessarily call this guy a serial killer if you know the story about this guy, but if you like true crime type of things in general, and you like to watch those type of like films, go check this one out. This is really entertaining and really tense, and really, I mean, the acting was really good as well. So yeah, now I just think I'm been mumbling about this specific film for such a long time right now, but yeah, please, some company, please release this on DVD or Blu-ray. I would love to get a copy of this one. So yeah, Ricky 6 from 2000. So there you have it. That's all of the horror films that are stuck on VHS that have yet to get a DVD or Blu-ray release. Like I said in the beginning of the video, of course there's lots and lots of other films that probably are stuck on DVD or Blu-ray, the horror films that. So these were just the ones that the first that came to mind when I made like these videos. So and I'm not really sure what the next video is going to be about. Maybe there's going to be another review video, and I also have the top 5 of the month for the month of April to go through as well. And also I actually have another idea for another series that I'm going to discuss a little bit. I'm not going to spoil it, what that's going to be about, if that ever come in fruition. Yeah, now I just come speak, because I mean, to be fair, I'm recording this almost like in the middle of the night for some reason, so don't ask me why. That's just what it happens sometimes when I make my videos. So but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this particular video, and see you next time. Bye bye.